Jubal John, and I'm here at Charlemagne Records with my good friend Dan Sartain. How you doing, Dan?
Good.
He's got a Coke and he's ready to go.
I know it's a Pepsi town. I know, Pepsi's dumping a bunch of money into.
It's like being for Auburn in the wrong place in this state. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I heard a joke that was like, the waiter said, "I'm sorry, we have Pepsi," and you say, "Oh, that's okay. Do you take fake money?" I don't know.
That's a good one.
Yeah, not bad. I mean,
Dan used to work here.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that a second ago, how we both worked here for quite a stretch, and all of our money would go back into the records. So it was kind of like we just break even working here sometimes. It was, it's hard to get ahead.
there was still like music stores back then when I was learning how to drive. Like this is mid '90s, so there was still a few record stores hanging on still, but this was like always the mecca. It was always the coolest place to go, and you might not find the exact thing you were looking for, but you would find something from that artist, or the employees were knowledgeable enough to give you a recommendation of something you were happy.
What were some of the records that you remember finding? Like I remember finding a Jam record, and you never could find any records by the Jam in the States, and I remember buying it for $7.98.
Yeah.
It was Snap. It was the compilation, and that was probably late '90s, and that kind of set me off into a bunch of mod stuff and punk stuff, just from that one album. Just because did you ever find any? Were there any albums like that stuck out to you that you remember buying from here or from somewhere like that?
I was never able to buy it from here because it cost too much. But I never found another one. But there was I found out that Buddy Holly had a recording career before what we knew. He backed up another guy. He was playing bluegrass stuff, right?
Yes.
But I forgot the fella's name. But it was
Bob Montgomery.
Okay, but it was all those tapes.
Yes.
And
Holly in the Hills, I believe, is the name of that album.
Okay, so when I'd work up here, it was like when I got to visit this album.
Yeah. I would do the same thing.
It was before I had a internet all the time.
Right.
And now I can find it. Now I can.
Well, it's funny you said that because there are some albums you would take for granted because they were at the store and you would listen to them and you'd be like, oh, I don't need to buy that one because I can listen to that at the store anytime. I did that with the one called Holiday Soul for a number of years by Bobby Timmons, and it was sat here and we listened to it every Christmas. And then there was a documentary and a guy made a big deal out of finding the record here and purchased it, and I've been kicking myself ever since for letting that
It's funny, isn't it? Because a lot of stores are like visiting places for objects.
Yeah. And
then you're sad when the objects go. I know my mom used to work at a big antique mall kind of place. It's not there anymore. It was in Hoover, but they used to have some kind of an annual or something, and it was all the Negro League, Birmingham Black Baron guys in it, and there was one guy that he couldn't afford the book, but he would go there and bring his family in to look at it and flip through.
That's incredible.
Point at his picture and show him that. But yeah, there's lots of places like that where you just go visit objects. I don't know. The objects are more reliable than the people sometimes.
Oftentimes.
Yeah. You get sad when they're not there anymore. Like, I don't know if you went to it, but there was a big turnout for that when they put the Birmingham Batmobile up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It was something Lee was doing.
Yes, Lee Shook. It was...
But we went, it was like after years and years, Birmingham wasn't able to see the Batmobile, and we were all sad about it.
Yeah.
And they put the Batmobile up, and people put their suits on.
William Perry. Willie Perry Day. Yes, I remember all that. Yeah.
That was a little before my
time. Well, it was
time.
kind of like Century Plaza, right? It's like, which is the name of one of your albums.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got behind you here. And there was sort of a certain sadness seeing that place in ruins, wasn't it? It's sort of just a little bit of... Because I saw the pictures of and I know you did too, people were sharing them online, of the inside of Century Plaza after it was all kind of destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was... Whenever you see old malls, that was that was the crazy part. But it's weird scenes, and that's why it's great when you have a place like Charlemagne that's been here for 42 years that's reliably still here.
Yeah.
But what's going on? Speaking of things that are still here, you took over a barber shop that you're now running. So tell us a little bit about your new life as a barber and running the barber shop.
Well, I got a kid now. I got a 2-year-old, and I'm not as young as I used to be. And, I could have kept going at it the way I was, but then it's just unrealistic, and it's like you got to get a real job, right? So, honestly, I never thought I'd go in far as music as I have, and before that, I went into barbering. But I was a teenager, and I was cocky, and when I learned everything I felt I needed to know, I left, and now I'm pushing 40, got a 2-year-old, and went into barbering, and not long after I went back to barber college, Vincent Oliver died, who, if you're familiar with Birmingham rock and roll artist,
Google this guy
and records, and you're watching this, you probably already know him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Phil Clay in the Blue Notes, Meet Me in the Barnyard.
Yeah.
A little Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh yeah, it's a rocker. Yeah.
I don't know. People have been known to lie and stretch truths in barbershops, but
True.
was that number 5? Maybe one of our peppy listeners can call in the station.
I'm sure we'll have somebody from ARCA that will explain it all to us and tell us all the details.
But I heard it went to number 5.
Wow.
On the charts.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I think it is, actually.
That's some pretty stiff competition.
Yeah,
1958,
right.
any given week.
So he retired or passed away, and then
He passed away in July.
and then you saw an opportunity to come in and take over, and
well,
how did that all sort of fall into place for you?
I didn't really want to be a business owner this quick.
Yeah.
I would rather have gone to work for someone else and make a
Right.
bunch of money and pay them to deal with the lights.
But
and
that's
keep
not
that
how it
stuff
happened,
on.
is it?
But no. And so it was either going to end up something completely different,
Yeah.
or it was going to wind up like a kind of unrecognizable version of the barbershop that I loved.
Yeah.
Somebody else was going to come in and, you know, I don't love every barbershop, right?
Yeah,
I
sure.
love this style of
Yeah, yeah.
barbershop. Very cheap, very accessible to the community.
Do you have the pictures on the wall where I can point to a certain kind of cut? Is that available?
We're working toward it.
Okay.
We're working toward it. Yeah.
I no offense, I tend to stay away from barbershops, so I have to check
noticed.
in.
I
But but for you, I might make an exception.
It would be a small amount of haircuts. It'd basically be Neil Armstrong, Elvis Presley,
Right.
and John Kennedy.
Right. I mean, what else
So-
do you need, really? I mean, you know.
A variation of
Yeah,
any
yeah.
3 of those guys. I can do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're doing the barbershop, and you started doing some shows over there too. You've been having a little bit of music.
Pretty casual, yeah.
Just kind of as a, hey, we've got a space, let's do some music
Yeah.
here, kind of thing.
Yeah. And trying to get it more. We were talking about Marion about coming down. So we had her. We had the Martini Shakers, who are kind of
Nice.
local
Yeah, I've known that
rockabilly
guy for a
band.
long time, yeah.
And last week we had Jackie. Came down and did one of her characters, and it was great. And I really loved the mix of the people down there, because we got straight up like broke weirdo artists, friends.
Yeah.
With talent mixed with.
I feel like you're talking about some people I know, bro.
I definitely am.
Talent, yes.
Self-included.
Yes.
And hobos. We give hobo haircuts for free. I don't care. I'd rather do a haircut than not do one. So
Yeah,
if
right
we're
on.
empty and you ain't got any money, I'll do a haircut. If nobody's sitting there ahead of you, just come on in. We'll give you doing haircuts. Is music. It's casual, very low amplification.
Right
It's
on.
pretty, but otherwise, I'm like the only one of the few storefronts on First Avenue open
Yes.
on Sunday.
Oh,
so,
nice.
That just makes me
Got it.
a big old hobo toilet, and it's fine, and we welcome these kind of things. But that toilet paper doesn't pay for itself. And if I could hustle a couple of haircuts from people,
There you go. Bring toilet paper and money.
Hey, bring your own toilet paper, sure. Well, I already said I'd give the haircut away for
And you were
free.
talking about
Showing my hand.
You're talking about I have to take credit for this. I think Dan scooped the day that he proposed to Sarah. I believe you told me first.
I know I was really lousy at it. I went and got the ring from Jean's Pawn Shop on 6th Avenue.
Heck
Another
yeah.
great
There
little
you go.
store owner. He's got a little bit of everything down there. I think that damn guy could run for mayor and win. but I don't know. I went down there, said I got X amount of not much money, and picked out my old lady's ring. Took her to her. And she hated it. She said yes, but she hated it, and it didn't fit right. So we went back and sorted through and found another one that fit right. Yeah, I think we came down here and said hello.
Yes, and I couldn't wait to tell the world. I was like, guess what? Dan Sartain's getting married. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fine.
That was great, and you have a beautiful family, but you're still playing music, and you've done a lot of different genres.
Yeah.
You've done rockabilly, you've done electro, you've done punk rock. What's on? I saw that you did a movie last year for Sidewalk Film Festival.
Yeah.
What's in the works for what's the next thing that you're working on?
Well, it's the making of the next record, so it's behind the scenes kind of, and that's really risky for me because I feel like every time I see one of those things, like a behind the scenes thing, no matter how well I like the album, they do run the risk of shattering my illusion of the artist.
Right.
And then I'm doing that right now. I could come across somebody could think I'm some traveling troubadour guy, and I'm just some goofy guy with bad jokes. So you really run a risk of doing that. I remember, I forget which one it was. I watched some David Bowie thing, and sorry, you can't throw stones at me after the fact. We've recorded this, but I watched some David Bowie documentary thing that made me like it a little less. Yeah. And I saw some of the footage, in studio footage, and it took a little of the mystique out of it because it was just the same crap I played through, but I don't sound as good, so I don't know. Whatever. But the answer to your question, this record, the electronic record, was Century Plaza, and the locals know that place. This next one's called Western Hills.
Western Hills.
And it is a Western album, and it's a covers album. Excellent. We finished it up a couple weeks ago. And
where did you record it at?
Comvest, Communicating Vessels,
nice.
Over there, right across the street from my barber shop.
Yeah.
There. Doing a lot of local guys, doing a lot of local musicians. One of the nicer studios I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Birmingham or
yeah, they
elsewhere.
do great work over there.
Yeah, I'm impressed with it. So,
is there going to be, now you had something last year in Sidewalk, is there going to be another film in Sidewalk this year promoting it, or the behind the scenes thing that you're doing, is that going to be
that's
released?
What it was last year. We were just done with 30 minutes of it. And
gotcha.
I ain't going to name no names. I guess I could say this about several people, but we got several friends that are involved in this. If you live around here and you got people that are involved in arts, you make friends that get involved with the festivals and things like this. And some of our friends have shown us some of their movies that got accepted to Sidewalk, and we thought, well, these are pretty crappy. These movies are pretty crappy.
We've never said the same thing at all, ever.
Right. Well, we had a crappy movie.
All the mean tweets should be at Dan Sartain.
Sure. Your movie sucks. Sorry. Your movie sucks. So our movie sucks.
So there was a low bar, so you said, I can clear that low bar. Is that what
I've seen some great stuff there.
We've seen a lot of great stuff. We love it.
But I have seen some stuff that was like, independent doesn't mean better always.
That's true. Well, that's true.
It means can be as good.
Can be as good.
That's what
but
I've
it gives
always
hope to guys like you and me, because it's like, well, yes. I can do as something like that,
That's what I think when people start talking about punk rock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I really think.
Here's the part of the conversation I wanted to get to.
Okay, this is what I really think it is, because you can get a lot of guys worked up about this, and then you get a lot of weird looks, and it's when you get that punk rock, what is and isn't punk rock.
Yeah.
And then you start. I'm going to tell you, be wary of people that say that musical genres are their lifestyle. That is a dangerous person. That is a person with an identity crisis. I tell you, rock and roll is a 4/4 rhythm. I think punk rock is 16th notes with the right, assuming you're right-handed, 16th notes, 4/4 rhythm, downstrokes with the right hand, 16th notes. I think it can be broke down into mathematical equations. When people start telling you rock and roll is my lifestyle, that's like a guy that goes around with a parrot or or a boa constrictor for their personality. Somebody wear, you know what I mean? It's like I like to be a little more educated than that. I don't know how to read music, but I do like a little bit of a clear, cut and dry explanation for why musical subgenres exist and what justifies their existence. I'm having a real struggle with I got no business making a Western album because I'm trying to figure out the difference between country and Western. What's the real difference?
What's your definition?
I think it's subject matter, but there's country songs that sing about cowboys. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
True.
It's well after the Roy Rogers boom.
Well, it's always kind of funny too when you hear like Hank Williams and the Drifting Cowboys, and there really weren't any cowboys in Alabama. They're all from Alabama, and that's sort of a misnomer. That's like a
There was the drifting
Hollywood,
rednecks.
yeah.
The drifting
but they
rednecks.
couldn't say that, so they said cowboys. Cowboys sounded cooler because,
Yeah, it does.
you know, the movies.
I agree. But, I mean, obviously you got Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, guys like that, and then it gets a little foggy because you got Western Swing and guys like that. You get into Bob Wills and stuff like that. And then it's like, really, what is cowboy music, you know, because guys...
Well, then what do you do with Buddy Holly? I mean, he's also Western, but now you're getting into rockabilly, but that's...
Yeah.
You know, now you get into West Texas, and so I just threw a wrench in the machine.
Well, we were talking about that. He made those bluegrass records before, so
Sure.
there is a little of that in there. But he would just tell you it's pure Elvis influence.
Right.
You know, Buddy would tell you he's the first, you know, I don't know.
Was Buddy Holly a big influence on you early on? Because he was for me, for sure. So
he is still a big influence on me, which is another reason why I need to be winding my career down. Because I'm almost 40, and he died when he's 22, and I'm still trying to play catch up to this pencil neck. You know, you're never going to be as good as this guy.
Probably true.
So, I don't know. And he was 22.
But it gives you, yeah, that's true. He did a lot in that very short time frame. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
He died in 58?
58.
So, he died in 58, and they didn't stop putting out unreleased material of his until 64.
Actually, I'm sorry, 59. I had 59, early 59.
A lot of stuff went on in those couple of years.
Very short time frame.
Yeah, it's hard to forget that. And
because technically he only put out 2 albums in his lifetime. He put out 1 solo album under Buddy Holly and 1 under the Crickets, and that was basically it. And a handful of singles done. All that other stuff that you know is like after the fact, them sort of cashing in on him.
They weren't really looking at albums as albums back then either, were they?
Not so much. But,
you know, like they weren't looking at it. They were looking at it as a way to sell the single again.
For sure.
Pretty much until the.
But then when people started,
English guys, right?
like when Buddy Holly started passing away, and those guys started, they figured this was a way to sell some more records that you could get it. You could, you know, get some more money out of.
Elvis's first RCA record sounds like a complete thought, though. It seems like a record. It doesn't sound like they made a series of singles until they had enough.
That one,
and then recorded some filler. I've been recently getting into gospel records, old gospel.
Me too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, when you get into gospel music, right? The thrift store records go from being a pile of crap to a pile of gold.
Yeah, some of them are barely. Oh yeah.
Because it made it, you know, like vinyls come back. I'm great. It's happy for you guys. It's the best thing that could happen to this place, right? All of a sudden, everybody's buying vinyl. You can go to Walmart and buy a record player for 24/7 in America now. 24/7 you can buy a record player in America.
That's right.
Here, when I was working here, it was, you know, you had to go to the thrift store or you had to get a high-end kind of DJ gear. But now you can go get a crappy record player for $60.
Yeah.
At probably CVS. So that's great. It's the best thing they have to. But I tell you, I'm fed up with it. I don't like it. I mean, I would like for my records to be released on, or my next record to be released on vinyl, just because I want to own it.
Right. Yeah.
But I can't stand it because it's I'll tell you when I really got fed up with the modern vinyl culture. Right. I love Bruce Springsteen. Born in the USA is a great album. But I went into a damn record store, not this one, and they had a brand new by the way, that virgin vinyl stuff. That's fraudulent. That's no extra reason to buy a record. 180 gram virgin vinyl. Who gives it? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's regrind or pellets or what. But I seen this 180 gram virgin vinyl, Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen, $25 on it. It's a great record. Born in the USA is a dollar bin record. Born in the USA is a dollar bin record. There's great records in the dollar bin. I feel like that's undermining the dollar bin. Repressing dollar bin records for $25 a pop.
That's where we are.
I bet, if we went on there and scrolled through the radio, how much you want to bet there's the song from Born in the USA being played right now?
You're probably right.
How much music off of Born in the USA have you had to listen to that you didn't want to listen to when you didn't want to listen to it? Now, Glory Days is a good song, but I've probably heard it
enough
1,000 more times than I've ever wanted to. So yeah, come on down to the record store and get your 180 gram vinyl. $25.
But you've also found stuff for $1 that you're like, this is the best dollar that I've ever spent in my lifetime.
Yes,
there's other stuff that you're like, okay, I will definitely, this few dollars I've spent has been well worth it.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
Life changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely life changing. But look at what I'm looking in front of
Yes.
me. I'm looking at the man that sang Moon River, Andy Williams, $3 record. That's great. That's perfect. You got the Jacksons, all world-class musicians. The Kingston Trio, 2 for $5, $3 each. This is my kind of place. This is my kind of place. If you look hard enough, you'll find a record. You'll find a copy of Born in the USA, and Born to Run, and Nebraska, probably for under $7. $7. That's a fine enough inflation. That's a fine enough inflation. I think $7 in my mind, it's a dollar bin record. That really means it's probably realistically about $5. It's probably worth about $7. World class. You don't get much better songwriting than the stuff on Born in the USA or Nebraska, but I don't ever have much more than $25 in my pocket. So that prying me from that,
that's a lot, yeah.
A rib sandwich and a gallon of gas. Nah, the boss loses. I can turn on the radio.
You can turn it on and hear.
And you're there whether I want you to be or not.
So we got the record store day coming up, the 13th.
Yes.
And you're going to be playing here in the store and doing some stuff. Are you going to be just doing a bunch of your old songs or new songs or something? Or is it going to do some of the Western songs off of the new album, off of Western Hills? Are you going to do any of that stuff? Or
it all depends on the day, man. We got enough material to go for hours. So it just depends on what I'm into that week. If we got any requests, send them on down the pipe. We'll play those songs.
Love how your song, there's a song off here, Walk Amongst the Cobras, I believe. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah. Now, you had done a version of it, had been on an earlier album, correct?
Yeah.
What album, what was it on before? I know there was a different version of it, and then you did kind of an electro remake of it.
Yeah. Well, that was in preparation for the rest of the record had been recorded. Everything was done. And then I thought, how are we going to do this live? And then there's only about 30 minutes worth of material.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so
you're like,
so your shows usually last like anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half.
Yeah,
so
right.
I said, how am I going to fluff this up? Now I'm doing electronic music.
Yeah.
I don't have a guitar.
Right.
I can't cover up. That's also why I quit doing it in general. Because when you're going out there and you're doing electronic music and it flops hard, buddy. It's like Milli Vanilli time. You're like exposed.
Yeah, you're very exposed.
You are. And not saying that nothing can go wrong with the rock show, but everything that has gone wrong, that can go wrong in the rock show, has gone wrong in the rock show, and we have recovered. So a broken string, broken drums, broken PA squealing in my ears. I can tell a joke or something. I can get out of that. Yeah. But like half the music playing, your thing breaks or something like that, and you're up there dancing, and and there's like fog machines and lasers and going. It's just embarrassing. You can't get out of that. You can't dig yourself out of that. But anyway, to answer the question I was asked, I was gonna have to fluff it out. So I said we're gonna have to. I'm gonna make electronic versions of a few of the old songs that are kind of standards in the set.
Well, what's funny, I have to tell you,
and
funny.
I stopped.
So
with that
when
one.
this album came out, I actually was a little bit obsessed with this album. I think I even texted you and said, "Oh my God, I love this album so much." What was funny was I made a joke that I wanted to do an acoustic version, like Ryan Adams had done the Taylor Swift album, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do Jubal John plays the Century Plaza album, and I'm gonna do." But then in my research, I found out you had already done a sort of acoustic version of that song, and I was like, "Wait, Dan already did his own Ryan Adams version of this song. He already covered himself." So I was like, but the song got picked up for a game or something. It get used in something else. I was seeing this online that it got used in a commercial, or the electro version I think got used in a was it used in a video game or something? What was, do you know?
Some of it. I've had stuff used in video game. I've been hired to do video game stuff, which was pretty awesome. I'm looking at this thing. It says Brian Eno on the back of it, and it reminds me of a story about him. I did that song. I don't know. I don't know if it wound up on a video game. I'm always the last to know.
That's what your Wikipedia page said, Dan.
It's true. They don't tell me.
In my research on you, that's what the internet's told me.
Yeah, I've worked for people. I don't know.
Tell us the Brian Eno story. That sounds infinitely more interesting than.
Well, equating to the working on video games, right? It got me thinking about it, because they told me when I worked on the video game, the one that they hired me in to say, "We want you to do music for the video game," they said, "We want punk music with cursing." And I said, "That's pretty awesome."
Yeah.
That's like that. That's like the back when punk music was starting. Punksploitation started pretty early.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So it's not like unheard of that CBS is on the phone or something, and we need genuine punk rockers for this episode of Chips.
Yes.
Can you get us some punk rockers for
safety
Chips?
Safety pins in the cheeks.
Yeah. And they wind up with 40-year-olds, obviously never done anything like that or heard of anything like that. But it reminded me of punksploitation a little bit, So it's like in a good way, if that makes any because then you wind up with like Return of the Living Dead, and things like that.
Exactly.
Sometimes you wind up with some cool stuff.
You can get some good stuff. Yeah.
Everybody loves Mad Max now and everything. You know what I mean? Like you get that's punk imagery.
Rock and Roll Swindle's still pretty fun. You
Yes.
know, the orchestral versions of Pistols songs they're a little silly, but they're also fun. So.
But the Brian Eno thing, right? I heard that he made the sound for Windows or something, like when you start up a Windows computer.
Oh yes,
or when you call
yes.
that he did that, right?
Yes.
So what they told him, his criteria for that was, it's going to last 6 seconds, and we need it to feel. I'm regurgitating this story, by the way. I just heard it somewhere. I wasn't in the room, but we need you to feel happy and hopeful and optimistic, and also a little scary and. All these emotions.
It's like a tall order for 6 seconds.
For 6 seconds,
Yeah.
and he was at first like,
How do I do that?
what are you talking? And then he started getting into it, and he's like, all right, I can cram all these emotions into 6 seconds. And the artist in him got all that. Yeah, so like
I had also heard that Thomas Dolby did one of the famous ringtones that everyone hears on their cell phone. That Thomas Dolby was actually paid to write that particular 6 notes or whatever it is. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true either. We'll have to check the internets, but on that one. But
I could write 6.
We could just be telling stories that have no basis in truth at all. And
I could write like 8 notes. Just easy.
Yeah, that's all you need, right? I mean, there's only 12 of them. Technically, there's only 12 notes, and then they repeat. So there you go, right?
But he was saying when they made him do that, he was like, "This is ridiculous." And then he got inspired and wound up making his own music.
You know, I think John Lennon said he wanted to, they were asking him, Drive My Car has very limited notes in the, the melody is only 2 or 3 notes. And he was saying he was actually trying to write a song where he would just use 1 note. Like that was his ultimate, like if he could boil it down to 1 or 2 notes, that would be the perfect. I always felt that way about Bo Diddley, like with 1 chord. It's like if you can work 1 chord the way that Bo Diddley does, you don't need that 2nd chord. Like that's,
So George did something John couldn't do. He did Blue Jay Way, right?
There you go.
Well, it's not one. It's 1 chord.
Yeah.
But okay.
See.
So he knocked.
It all works together.
He knocked the champ on the ass. George is my favorite Beatle, or my least favorite Beatle.
George is your least favorite?
Yeah, if you want to talk about that.
Who is your favorite Beatle? Mine is Paul.
It's turning into Paul, dude.
Paul is, yeah.
It started as Ringo when I was little. It's like that guy
Everybody
seems like the coolest.
Kids love Ringo. I don't know what it is about Ringo. It's something about him. He's very lovable. He was always the star of all the movies. Like, if you ever noticed that,
because he's
always
the
like,
best.
why are they chasing him and help for the ring? Oh, it's so cute. He wears all those rings, you know. And
he's got the everyman quality.
he has that, yeah. He seemed the most accessible of the Beatles, I think, in some ways.
Yeah. So I loved George. I loved Ringo the most. And then when I was a teenager, on into my mid-20s, in my edgiest, taking myself
edgy John Lennon.
Oh yeah, taking myself
right.
So seriously.
Yeah.
But then eventually, with John, you run into stuff like, you write a song that's like, "Hold on, John, hold on." How's Pete supposed to relate to that? How's Michael supposed to relate to that? How's Ben supposed to relate to "Hold on, John, hold on"?
You're right. Love songs like "Oh Yoko." Who's gonna sing those songs?
The person that loves Yoko. That's pretty much limited to guys who have girlfriends named Yoko.
My wife's name is Reiko, and I was gonna sing "Oh Reiko" because it still rhymes. She hates it when I sing that song to her, but
Yoko's a little catchier.
It works. I was actually gonna write a letter to Yoko Ono asking her for permission to do that, which I think would.
Yoko's
since Reiko and Yoko are both Japanese names, I think that would work. But
Yoko's.
But you think John was sometimes a little too self-referential? Is that what you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, the thing is with Paul, I just love catchy melodies and things that like earworms. Like McCartney is the master of the earworm. Like if I can hear it and one time and I remember it, then I'm done, you know. And I always feel like I get that with Paul for the most part.
He's,
you know.
Plus
he can do rockers and ballads, and
the thing I didn't like about Paul, right? And you probably have felt this way. Probably most people that are like really dug into the Beatles have felt this way. He just seems like he practices his moves in front of a mirror. Doesn't he, when he's playing? It's
what did George Harrison say about him? He said, "Oh, it's a shame he's not here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction because he had the speech written and ready to go." You know, it's like Paul was always the one who was a bit more professional. I think it was always his job to keep them on task and keep them in the studio. And so you're kind of right about that to a certain extent. But I think that was a good balance in the Beatles. I have this theory, since we're talking about the Beatles, that the Beatles early on were kind of almost like a socialist experiment because they had the same haircuts, the same clothes. They had Lennon and McCartney as their, we write songs together, let's put the two top, so it was almost like this sort of idea of like, it's sort of a form of democratic socialism. What do you think about this theory? It's sort of a crazy theory, but
for the people or within the group?
Within the group. I mean, it didn't work out in the end. Of course, it was a failed experiment. So maybe
dictatorships work for bands sometimes.
Sometimes, oh sure, yeah.
Johnny
absolutely.
Ramone.
True.
Those guys. God, as unlikable things.
But that's also a bit of delegation, though, isn't it? I mean, he didn't dictate everything. I mean, he still had, Dee Dee writing the songs and Joey singing. I mean, he was able to delegate those to people, even if he was like the
taskmaster. But if one of the guys in the band wanted a haircut,
But again, that is sort of a form of socialism inside the band, isn't it? It's like this is our uniform, and if you don't like it, then move to another country with other uniforms.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've had to be that. That's why that's why my thing has never been a band. Because too, with bands versus solo projects, doesn't it seem with bands, okay, all right, I'm not too interested in having relationships with my friends, other guys, this way. Mm-hmm. And it seems like guys in bands, they'll get all drunk and then they'll punch each other. And then the same night they're crying and they're hugging. I love you, man. And all this stuff. And then they go play a show. Right. And it's good. And and all their girlfriends and their friends and the people from the office come and all this crap. And then it all happens again. Then somebody punches someone. Or I liked that girl that yeah.
But then you write a song about it somewhere in the middle. That's how it's supposed to go down. So
fuck being in a band. Fuck being in a band.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Dan Sartain, anti-bands.
Your friends aren't worth it. They aren't your real friends. They really aren't. They don't care about you. This music thing, you're not going to make any money at it, and your friends don't care about you. You should be selfish about this whole journey. I know you've been thinking about this, going out and being a musician and all that. But one thing you need to know is that your friends don't really care about you. And you're in it on your own, and there's no money to be made. You see this? You see all these records? You see this record? You see all this? They don't make all this on winner's money, okay? Somebody got screwed up. There's some session man. I don't even know what
somebody got screwed over.
I don't know what record this is. It's some record, some studio guy, some engineer got screwed over, didn't get paid. Some songwriter got ripped off.
All mean
this
tweets
one,
go
all this
to
is
at
just,
Dan
I don't know.
Sartain.
This is I can't even read this, and it's a rap group. Some other guy wrote this music, and then these people profited from it or something. It's just it's a never-ending pit. If you're doing it for anything other than self-gratification and self-worth, those are also the wrong reasons. Just go get a real job. That's what I'm doing. Grow up. It's been done.
You heard it here first, kids.
It's over.
Encouraging words for the youth of America.
I'm your dad. It's over.
I feel like you've ruined all my hopes and dreams about everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you're... That's all I got.
This is devolved into something else. But anyway, we're going to be happy to see you here. We're going to be happy to see Dan here. Back selling music to the kids, the youth of America.
Cheers.
April 13th, Record Store Day. Come at 11:30.
Yeah.
Come before. Get your sad butt up before noon, and come on down to Charlemagne and see Dan perform a bunch of really cool songs. April 13th, Charlemagne Records.
What day is that? Is it a
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday. You're going to be at brunch at 11:30 anyway.
And anyway, thanks again for having my friend Dan Sartain here.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been wonderful having you back in Charlemagne.
Absolutely.
I feel like we're home now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
hey, this record changed my life. Right there.
This record right here is really good. This Ricky Nelson, it's a favorite of mine as well.
I tell you, I got the first time I got drunk too. My friend Scott Link, who's dead now, came over and we drank Jack Daniels and ate Hot Pockets, and I barfed all over my copy of this, and I had to buy it again. Somebody give me one.
I dedicated mine to Baker Knight. I dedicated my album to Baker Knight because of Lonesome Town and all the songs he wrote for Ricky. So definitely nice little connection there.
I'd like to ask you to keep your eyes out for some Baker Knight records for me.
I will.
I know
sure.
someone else will grab them.
It's hard to come by, but
yeah.
But thanks again.
Local hero.
Thanks again.
Adios.
You heard it here, youth of America. Come down to Charlemagne. Thanks again. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no
it.
problem.
All right.